Hi, I'm in my sexy gear now because it's time to talk about some sexy topics. The first one we're going to talk about today is going to be, is cross-dressing just a fetish? I think this is one of these weird ones where for a lot of people who are cross-dressing, they think it's just a fetish. And my own personal theory is that most cross-dressers aren't able to work through their denial to understand that they are actually trans women. Now, shots fired, I know, and I'm not saying you are a trans woman if you are a cross-dresser, but I think if you are fascinated with cross-dressing, it may be worth thinking about if it is just a fetish. Now, from a sexual perspective, it's easier to let, how do I put this? I was talking to someone the other day, and this is how I kind of put it. Your denial is going to try and hold your natural self from emerging, because denial is a protective mechanism to stop you from processing who you are and yourself and helping you kind of letting your natural self come out, because you've probably been taught and it's probably been reinforced with you that it's not safe to naturally be who you are. So instead you construct and create a system. Is this relating at all to you? How you can be constructing a system that fits within a certain box for your own safety, so that way you are not proselytized. You're not harmed. You fit in. You don't stand out, and therefore you're safe, right? By staying safe and within the bounds of the box, you're okay. Cross-dressing is a way of stepping out of the bounds of your box, and this is where we're going to touch on the fetish aspect. So the way that I've learned how the true self emerges is the true self is there all the time, but it doesn't always have a pathway to be acknowledged and be brought forth and actualized as it wants to be. But that doesn't stop yourself from wanting to emerge. And this is also where my spirituality comes into play, which is that once I accepted my true self and allowed myself to emerge and become, my spirituality grew a lot, because I came in touch with my spirit, the part of my being that was hidden from me, that I had hidden in some kind of denial vortex or exiled it into another realm, and was not able to process it because it just wasn't something within the realm of possibilities. But once I brought it in, suddenly I realized, oh my God, the self has been trying to come through this whole time, but I just wasn't willing to listen to it. And this is where it expresses itself. Is one of the ways it can express itself is through sex and through fetish and through arousal, because sexuality is actually really hard to control, if not impossible. Sexuality isn't something that you can control. You can control yourself and what your relationship to this sexual aspect of yourself is. Like, you can avoid triggering situations, or you can do things that are different. But in general, I think sexuality, as in like if you're attracted to men or women or non-binary folk, that kind of sexuality is not really controllable so much. And so if your self is trying to emerge, you have all of these denial mechanisms within your brain, within your thinking framework, that prevent you from processing and opening up to your true self, then it's going to find a way in which it can express itself. And this is through sex and through fetish, because your unprocessed, unconscious, subconscious, whatever you want to call it, has found a way to get through. And this is just the same for any fetish or kink. Look at anyone that's into whatever fetish or kink they're into. There's something that they haven't fully allowed to process, or they are wanting to process through this sexual experience, right? Like if someone's got daddy issues, or if someone has a lot of control in their life, they want to perhaps have no control in the bedroom, or the other way around. And this is just a natural thing. We are humans that are trying to find balance. When it comes to your gender, if your gender is not being expressed appropriately, maybe its expression through this sexual space is something that can help you process this. And if you're watching this, you've processed it enough to realize that it's worth thinking about and worth processing. So this is the thing. You're cross-dressing fetish is perhaps your unprocessed self trying to create processing in your mind, in your ability to accept. Now, what's stopping you from accepting? Do you live in an area or a place where it's not acceptable? Have you consumed media that has said that it's not acceptable to be trans? Are there consequences to being trans? Do you have a family? Do you have kids? Like, what are the additional layers that create the notion that it's dangerous to be trans, right? Because if you can say, you know, if I was trans, that's no problem. There's no skin on the line there. If I was trans, I'd just, change my gender and that'd be it. If there was no stakes to being trans, then you can't possibly have denial around it because there's no stakes. But if the stakes are high or there are stakes, then denial is going to be stronger and stronger. So much so that some people may never accept this. And some people go, well, how come so many trans people are coming out now? Well, I think it's because it's more acceptable. It's more easier to be yourself now, and because of that, you have a lot of older trans women coming out who have been trans all the time and have been hiding it or haven't been able to fully process it. So I hope that this helps you in processing yourself and thinking and reflecting about your sexuality, your fetish, and all of that kind of stuff. I'll see you in another episode soon. Bye-bye.